Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I have to confess that I was a little bit puzzled because I wasn't aware why some individuals in the West said that the F-16s would not work in Ukraine. They would not be suitable for the Ukrainian army to use or Air Force to use in Ukraine. And I was thinking, why? And I thought, well, maybe they're afraid to be, shut down and embarrassed. Or maybe some Ukrainian pilot or whomever is going to be the pilot for those F-16s are going to just veer towards Russia and land in Russia. And then there would be a big scandal and success for the Russians. Or something like this. I said, what? Or maybe they just don't want to send it. They want the French to send the Rafale, they want the Griffon, they want the Eurofighter, something else but the Americans. So they want to protect their little shit so they can sell it, because it has only successes. But I have found an article today. It's like they read my mind. And they provide me with the evidence, with their argument. Why F-16 would not work in Ukraine. And I read the whole article 2 times. And the only thing that I could identify was that F-16 is very fragile. Now, if you guys are familiar with AK-47 or 74 or whatever variant you want to consider, and what was that, M16, or put the why, for instance, the American rifles, automatic weapons, or whatever in Vietnam were not really efficient, or as efficient as rubbish Russian Kalashnikov. Even the Americans used Kalashnikovs in their troops in some operations in Vietnam, from what I read, And that was the reliability, because it's very simple, rudimentary, and it works. Maybe you watched a lot of videos or maybe you read about Kalashnikov, how durable it is under any kind of scenario. Sand, cold, water, hot, whatever. Versus the other ones that require a lot of maintenance. If the wind blows 5 miles per hour, you can't use your rifle. Kind of types like that, or it's hot, or it's, above 75 Fahrenheit, or let's say 25 Celsius, done. You're shot in the head. So it seems like the same thing is valid, bear with me, for the F-16. And the reason why they say, I'm going to read you the title first, and then I'm going to go into that. So here's the title. How Russia, this comes from Business Insider from today, the 25th of April 2023, I think it is, yeah, right here. It says how Russia could spot Ukrainian F-16s before they even got off the ground, according to an air warfare expert. So I read this as experts' arguments, and it says calls for Western countries to send fighter jets to Ukraine have grown in recent months. Those calls center on the US-made F-16, which proponents say will boost Ukraine's air force, but Russia would notice if Ukraine began modifying its air bases to support F-16s, one expert says. I said, what the hell is going on here? And I said, what do they need to modify? I said, well, do they need maybe a longer takeoff, shorter, an incline? What do they need to modify? And I found out in this article. This gentleman, he says that the F-16s have 2 negatives. First, they have under their nose, they have the air intake. And the air intake, according to this gentleman, being so low and so big, sucks in whatever is on the field before it takes off. And since Ukrainian airfields are rugged and they're not like Autobahn, in Germany, that means they can't take off. So as I said with the M16s, if it's hot or humid, you're fucked. So therefore, you're not ready for war. So imagine these F-16s could take off safely only if the, takeoff, landing, whatever it is clean as, remember, in a war. So I think they're very, very, oh, I can't do this. Well, that's not a weapon, war weapon, whatever it is. That's the first one. The second one is based with the landing gear and the takeoff gear. So that means the wheels, how many they got? 3, I guess. So based on maybe 3, 1, 2, 3, what sets. So they say that all these are too fragile. Again, for the rugged landing, whatever, takeoff, strip. That means the Ukrainians, they have to put some, like Formula 1, how do you call that anyway, in order for them to take off or to land. Otherwise, they will like boom, bang. So that's the reason, my friends, is they need clean surface, flat and clean. So people have to blow it with blowers before they take off in a war. Now you tell me. And I'm not kidding. Watch, read that article. These are the only reasons. And they say that Russians, when they see that things modified, the airstrips, they could bomb them and that's it. No. But on the other hand, they say the Russian-made Sukhois and MiGs are rugged and strong and tough, like the Russian tanks. You know what I mean? So that means they don't need really to be a flat and Formula 1 track. That was the word I was looking for. So that's dumb. Anyway, they argued that the landing track, the landing the wheels, is so fragile because they wanted to make the airplane lighter, which makes sense. But how fragile can that be in order to not be able to... I mean, I've been on this kind of strips, and there's concrete. And between concrete, there's, you sometimes drive in the United States of America and like now in between those concrete, because don't want them to there's grass. So if you take off, you're gonna be like but if you have a tough landing gear and you don't have that big air intake under your nose, let me just put a picture here, which is right there. You can see it right below it, right there. So this is what they're talking about. I don't know if there's another picture here. I think this is it right here. Another. So these are too fragile, they say. I think this was the front or back. So that was the reason. And then they say that's why, and this is another interesting fact, this expert says, that's why Rafale, the French, and Griffon, they could be sent over there. They are having a tougher, sturdier landing gear. But they have a problem. They said that missiles, these fighter jets are using, have shorter distance than the Russians. So they can find the Russians. So that means the Russians will see them from further distance, activate, boom, and those guys, if they send their little shit is gonna be like, before it hits the target, because it doesn't have such radius. So a range. So they say basically we can't send shit. Therefore we have to send the MiG-29s. So this is what I read in this beautiful article. Let me maybe find the name of the author, which is probably at the bottom if I remember correctly. Let me see. Sorry for doing this, but it's worth Michael Peck. So Michael Peck is a defense writer whose work has appeared in Forbes, Defense News, Foreign Policy Magazine, and other publications. He holds a master's in political science. Follow him. I think this says Gripen is Gripen, and Gripen is the Swedish one. I think it's Sweden. Yeah, Swedish. And they talk about these are the missiles that are really short-ranged, not enough for the Russians. And they talk about Mirage, the French one. The Mirage. With Mirage and Rafale. So these were the airplanes they were talking about. So I thought that was very interesting. And I'm sorry, now in between you and I, when it's a war, you don't want ideal conditions, because you're not going to fight in ideal conditions. It's going to be raining. It's going to be cold. It's going to be hot. It's going to be dust. It's going to be many things, the elements, and you come with something that, it works only in between this little, if it's the temperature between 68 and 72 degrees Fahrenheit, and the wind doesn't blow with a speed more than 5 miles per hour, humidity, let's put it at 25, and what else we need to? The sunshine is not around, should be like partly cloudy, and definitely no sand whatsoever. You can find with them on sand. I don't know, when it's sand, they use your knives and you attack, or bayonets. Hoorah, let's impale them, stab them, whatever you want to call them. So anyway, this is it. I think that's embarrassing. Now I don't know if this is a weasel way out or it's not, but if that's the case, then don't buy it. All right. As I said, it's a war machine, and in war conditions. What do you expect? Expect. What if that airplane, let's say, flies to smoke? It's gonna be like. Is that what's gonna happen? I mean, just imagine that. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just. Don't buy it.